Bobby Ferguson and 3 associates are charged with 8 counts, including fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy to harm U.S. government property. It all stems from a construction project here on Joy Road at the Southfield Freeway on the west side, the former Herman Gardens housing project. According to the indictment, Ferguson and his associates got a contract to do work on the new Garden View Estates housing project, now under construction, but the feds say the bids were rigged. Even worse, the indictment says, Ferguson dumped truckloads of contaminated dirt on the site. The material came from unrelated city construction projects. Ferguson was paid to properly dispose of the contaminated dirt. Instead, he dumped it here, the indictment says, and fattened his wallet in the process. So who is Bobby Ferguson and how did he get on the feds' radar? Tonight, the investigators look deeper into the checkered past of this Kilpatrick pal. When Kwame Kilpatrick was in court for hearings that led to his imprisonment, one person was almost always there, right by his side, Bobby Ferguson. Kilpatrick and Ferguson have been close friends for years, and many have questioned whether Ferguson's friendship with Kilpatrick has put him on the inside track for city business. Published reports say Ferguson has landed an astonishing $170 million in city construction and demolition contracts. $170 million. He wasn't always the lowest bidder, and a lot of the contracts had cost overruns. A $1.3 million exterior facelift at Cobo wound up costing $5.5 million. A $7 million interior renovation at Cobo had a $500,000 in cost overruns. He bid $1.4 million for excavation work at Ford Field, and it wound up costing nearly twice that. Ferguson landed a $7 million job to gut the Book Cadillac Hotel, even though his company had no experience with high-rise demolition and was not the low bidder. Nobody has questioned the quality of Ferguson's work, but how did he get so many city jobs with so many cost overruns? When he was asked about his friendship with Kilpatrick in a 2006 deposition, he was evasive, even after his own lawyer told him to answer the question.
But if you could answer yes or no, whether you and the mayor are friends.
I know the mayor. I know him too, but I can't call him my friend.
In 2008, the Free Press dropped a bombshell, uncovering text messages that appeared to show collusion. Texts between Ferguson and Kilpatrick's lover and chief of staff, Christine Beatty, suggested Ferguson had gotten inside information from Beatty to help land city contracts. In January of 2009, federal agents swooped in, executing search warrants at 2 of Ferguson's companies and hauling out boxes of records. The search warrants were sealed and the feds were tight-lipped, but word leaked out that the raids were tied to the pay-to-play corruption investigation at City Hall. Ferguson's problems didn't start with the feds. He's had run-ins with the law dating back to his teenage years. At 18, he was convicted in Farmington Hills of assaulting a bouncer at a bar with a baseball bat, but the record was expunged. Over the years, he's faced a slew of charges, including felonious assault, assault with intent to commit murder, and carrying a concealed weapon. But all those charges were either dropped or lowered. In 2005, a felony charge finally stuck. Ferguson was convicted of pistol whipping an employee named Kennedy Thomas, leaving Thomas with a permanent brain injury. Even then, Ferguson got off relatively easy, only 10 months in jail, and he was out 13 hours every day on work release. And during the Super Bowl, the deal was sweetened even more. I exposed how Ferguson was being released from jail for 20 hours a day, just before the Super Bowl, to do an emergency teardown of the old Motown building.
2 weeks from now, it'll be a parking lot. We'll see some cars parked out here, hopefully.
But Wayne County prosecutor Kim Worthy wasn't impressed. She went to court and got some extra time tacked onto Ferguson's sentence to make up for his little Super Bowl break. Kennedy Thomas filed a civil suit and won a $2.6 million judgment against Ferguson. The judge later lowered the award, and the case is now on appeal. That appeal is still pending, and Kennedy Thomas still has not gotten a dime, but the judge did order Ferguson to post a $1.5 million bond to make sure the money will be there if he loses on appeal. Reporting live from Detroit's West Side, Scott Lewis, Channel 7 Action News. Stephen and Diana, back to you.
Scott, so what's next in this federal case against Bobby Ferguson?
Well, Ferguson is in some serious trouble, Diana. If he's convicted of the most serious charge, money laundering, that carries up to 20 years in prison. The first step comes Monday when Ferguson is supposed to turn himself in for arraignment.